Please state your name for the record, and your 3 minutes will begin.
Good evening, Robert McDonald, Palm Coast. My comments tonight are addressed to Councilman Barbosa. Sir, when you decided to run for an elective office, you should have thought that you were going to represent all of the residents of Palm Coast, not just some. So far, in the 3 months that you've been an elected official, this is now the second time that we've had to come to a city council meeting. The first time was when you failed to take down your political signs in a timely fashion as the code says that you're required to. But my biggest concern tonight is this article that was published in the Observer newspaper. And part of it says that you don't understand why the city is following this rule. Well, the city follows the rules because otherwise the city is going to look like God knows what with all kinds of trucks. Now, my problem is that you obviously have a problem parking your commercial vehicle in a driveway, but my memory will serve me correct, this issue did not become an issue until after the election. And according to the paper, and I quote, 3 times, November 17th, December 1st, and January 12th, you proposed that the city form a committee to kind of change the rules. Well, sir, your position sitting up there is supposed to be representing all of the public, not just you as a local businessman. Now, do I think that the rule on commercial vehicles is unfair? Absolutely. I think that the city does have to revisit the code because there are vehicles that are on 24-hour call, so those calls, those trucks have to be able to respond in a timely fashion. I'm sorry. You still have well over 3 years left of your term. And in 3 months, this is the second time that I know I've been to the city council meeting questioning why you're allowed to do things that everybody else has been able to follow the rules. So I'm not quite sure, and Mr. Reichman is only going to be the only one that's going to be able to attest to this. If this matter continues to be pushed by you, I think this, in my opinion, this may or may not constitute.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Thank you.
Okay. Next speaker.
Greetings, member of the City Council and the Mayor. Glad to see you, Mayor Melissa Holland. And my name is Pat O'Brien, and we've lived in Palm Coast since 2009, and this is our first visit to the City Council meeting. And I agree with that gentleman that just spoke before me, 100%. I do not want to see our community turned into just not anything good to look at. Palm Coast is a beautiful city, and we need to maintain that beauty. We need to keep that, and I agree with that gentleman 100%, and I hope you remember that, because if I don't, I will be speaking to Mr. Barbosa again. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Jules Kwiatkowski. I'm the recent re-elected commissioner for the East Flagler County Mosquito Control District. I'd like to thank the 31,000 people that voted for me. Now, I want to talk about a problem. I said, how many babies are left at a location because the mother couldn't take care of them? The other night I was watching an article on this problem. I think all firehouses should consider this. They're installing a box similar to a night deposit box, only larger. The mother will put the baby in the box, and 60 seconds later, a chime will sign at the firehouse. Then they will take care of the baby. This will give the mother ample time to move away. This is better than leaving the baby at some service station restroom, or worse yet, at a dumpster. Now, I sent an email to the Palm Coast Fire Department and I didn't get any response. Now, I just seen in the newspaper an article that there is a senator in Florida that wants to talk about these boxes being installed at all firehouses. I think it's a good idea, and I think the Palm Coast should look into this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker. Seeing no one, I'll close public comment. I will address the first two speakers. We have a process in Palm Coast. That process is we go through a strategic action plan, discussion and dialogue. It is managed by a staff member who will meet with council members annually in advance of the budgetary process. This is following the survey that we put to the residents that determine what their priorities would like to be. So we always recognize the importance of your voice and your advocacy. And so we have stated that to Councilmember Barbosa, that if he wishes to bring this item forward in a strategic action plan discussion and discussed by this council in a public meeting, he is more than able to do that. So at that time, you know, again, your voice and your input is very important to each and every one of us. So we would just ask you to remain engaged and involved to ensure that it's consistent with what you'd like to see. So I appreciate both of you being here tonight, and certainly your input is really critical to this process. That process will start soon. And again, you'll see several workshops where these items are discussed and then ultimately approved officially by the City Council. So thank you. And Jules, thank you for being here. Thank you for your service to our community. And we will certainly ask our fire chief to respond to you. So, okay, we'll now move to agenda item. And I must mention, we do have a mask requirement here. So the woman in the back, you please have to put your mask up. We have a lot of residents here tonight. Thank you. So we will now move to agenda item number 1, which is approval of the minutes of the City Council, February 16th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 2 is a presentation on Indian Trail Sports Complex upgrades. I believe Lauren Johnston will be presenting, and we do have 2 representatives from Palm Coast Little League that are with us tonight that will be here if any questions are asked. Thank you so much.
Yes, Mayor. I'm Lauren Johnston, Director of Parks and Recreation, and I have Peter Shomes, President of Palm Coast Little League, and Fred Lewers, Treasurer of Palm Coast Little League. Just wanted to give you a brief update on our completion of Phase 1 out at Indian Trail Sports Complex. We have a brief video for you. I just wanted to thank my colleagues for this project. It started out as truly an in-house project with this field conversion, from stormwater and engineering the plans, then our public works special projects, creating the beautiful fields, working alongside of our park staff. And just as the video mentioned, we did all of this while the pandemic was going on. We continued to work to bring forth this amenity to our residents and to the youth of our community. So I want to thank my colleagues. In phase 1 improvements at the sports complex, we completed 2 softball fields with fencing, dugouts, and bleachers. We also completed 2 t-ball fields. They're graded for 1 future baseball and 1 future softball. And funding also allowed for us to complete the backstops on fields 6 and 7. During this process, we also renovated the concession stand, restrooms, and press box at the main 4 fields. I'd ask Palm Coast Little League to please come up to the podium.
I'm here.
And Pete's going to go over some of the outstanding items to finish fields 6 and 7.
Yes. Good evening. The items that Lauren has up there, the fencing, the dugouts, overhead and vertical netting, the fence guard, the foul poles, these items will complete fields 6 and 7 complete, just as 5 and 8 are already done. The selfish part of me wants to see all 4 fields done. I want to see kids playing on all 4 fields, Monday through Friday, all day Saturday. The concern we're having right now is with the 2 fields that are complete. Are they usable? Yes. We have a bit of a safety concern. Should we be using them? With the 2 other fields that aren't complete, the fields themselves are done. The grass, the grading, the clay, the infield, no fencing, no overhead netting, no dugouts to protect the kids. We have 2 fields that we would love to jump on, and we've carefully used 1 of them already. But we've kept the other 3 completely empty. That way we can avoid any accidents or things like that. The fencing surrounding the outstanding fields have to be done. That's a must. Not only for the kids playing, but after hours. It's just a natural deterrent that will keep everyone off the fields at night. Apparently remote control cars are a big hit again, and they're racing all over the fields already. The dugouts are for the kids. Protects the kids while they're not at bat, not in the field. The overhead and netting is for you and me. We're there watching the kids play. Foul balls are going to happen, and they're going to happen from 2 fields away. You'll never see them coming. So as much as I want to see the kids out in the field, but 95% of this is a safety concern. And that's where we have to kind of look at it. It's hard to, I've been there from day 1 with Lauren and everyone else. It's hard to look at where we've been, how far we've come, and where we are now. And, you know, we're right there. And the only thing holding us back right now is we're scared. We don't want to see any of these kids get hurt. We don't want to see any spectators get hurt. And we have a lot of things on the horizon, not only for Palm Coast Little League, but for outside organizations coming in. And the biggest one, as some of you know, we have a state tournament this summer. And there are going to be a lot of people here this summer looking at those fields. And already the wheels are going to start spinning. What can we do next year? I already know what they want to do, but we haven't said anything yet because we need to see that project complete. So I don't know what the next steps are, but please, let's get these fields done as quickly as we can. I can go through a million reasons why, but the safety of these kids and their parents, their families, the spectators is number 1.
Well, I want to thank you for years of volunteering, of coaching. You have an extraordinary organization that's been a great partner to the city of Palm Coast. I know when this conversation first took place, it was to provide additional capacity. Palm Coast Little League, for many of our residents may or may not know, has close to 900 kids a season that are coming out and playing. Again, this is a volunteer organization that helps support this. And this was a way, very creatively, internally, that our staff was able to meet the needs of capacity now. We're working towards what it looks like in the future, how we can continue to drive additional capacity as you grow and as we grow as a community. This is an investment in public safety as well. There's a lot of structure that goes to team play, and I for one, am extraordinarily proud to have you as a partner in our community.
Likewise.
And the work that you have performed for many years. So I know it's not easy, but you do it because you're passionate about it, and your passion is clearly showing tonight. So, Council, we don't normally, under presentations, take any other council comments or questions, but however, I just want to make sure that questions or comments are responded to per council members. Any other comments or questions?
I would just, I'm sorry.
Brainer, yeah.
Okay.
We gotta help the kids. And if they don't feel safe, we don't feel safe. If something happens to them, we are at fault. So sometimes invest to save. And that's another one of those cases. By investing, we're saving a lot. We could be saving a life. So very important. Thank you.
I would also just like to extend the gratitude. The city of Palm Coast has a tremendous partner in the Palm Coast Little League, and you guys do a great job. And I always make the joke that Palm Coast Little League helps keep the parents off the streets. And you see tremendous engagement in our community, and it really is one of those type of things where it builds a neighborhood. So thank you for everything you've done.
I agree also. It's a beautiful thing to see kids outside, you know, other than being in their house playing video games. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Lauren? That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Keep
Thank
doing
you.
great things. Take care. Agenda item number 3 is a presentation, 2020 Regional Award for Excellence in Resilience. I think we have our environmental team.
Good evening, Mayor Holland and members of Palm Coast. I am Beth Payne. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Northeast Florida Regional Council, and I am just delighted to be here in person to be able to present this award. For those of you who don't know, the Regional Council has been giving out awards since about 2003, and we do this in various categories to recognize the great work that's going on around the region. Normally we do this with a big elected officials luncheon and an awards ceremony, and certainly we couldn't do that this year, but our board of directors recognized more than ever that giving out these awards of achievement and excellence was extremely important in the pandemic time. So happy to be able to get out of Jacksonville and working at my house and be here for you. This award is the Regional Award of Excellence in Resilience. So this is a newer award in which we try to match our awards to the work and the trends that are happening in the region, and certainly that's more important than ever. So the City of Palm Coast is receiving this award for their floodplain and stormwater management program. I think all of you know, and I'm sure most of your citizens know, the great work that's being done in the city with the National Flood Insurance Program and specifically the community rating system, and the amazing statistic that there are only 3 communities in Florida that have a rating like yours. That really do benefit almost each and every citizen. So we appreciate the type of planning and the hard work that your staff does to obtain a rating like that and to do the kinds of things that aren't always easy and aren't always fun, but it's put together and it really does benefit your community. So with that, we congratulate you on your achievement. We recognize your staff and your work as elected officials. And I think what we're most excited about at the Regional Council, one of our missions is to kind of share best practices, and for all of our counties, our 7 counties and 25 municipalities, to be able to learn from each other. And we are very lucky and grateful that your city and your city staff does such a phenomenal job in doing that and sharing their work, sharing how they're getting things done, which really lets the whole region benefit. So thank you for that. And congratulations. I'll present this to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming down and recognizing the hard work of Denise and her team. They do an extraordinary job. Very, very proud of them. They really do provide that added level to protect and preserve the environment. So very appreciative. Thank you, and congratulations. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move to agenda item number 4, which is a second read. Mr. Reichman.
Mayor, Council, this is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida for road closure of Slowway. A roadway within the City of Palm Coast is recorded in Plat Book 17, page 48, providing for severability, conflicts, and for an effective date.
Okay, this is a second reading. Council, do you have any questions or comments on this item before I open it up to the public?
No.
Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 4, please do so at this time. You have up to 3 minutes. You need to state your name for the record, and your 3 minutes will begin. If you are all here to speak on this issue, or the majority of you, to save time, I would ask you to come up. Brad, can you make sure they're socially distancing? And be prepared to speak after the speakers are done. I will respond after all speakers are done. So we'll be responding to your comments following all speakers. So for everybody, please come up and line up. And sir, you can come and begin your comments. You just need to state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Michael Owen. I live on Slogan near Trail, which is the Horseshoe. If y'all close that road off, what's going to happen when the hurricanes come? Seminole Woods, hell, pine tree can fall over with a hard wind, some of them. Okay, that blocks off traffic going one way. Down this way, might be a car wreck. You can't get that way. So here you are riding in the Horseshoe, not getting out. And that's if a hurricane comes. And y'all close that road off, nobody's getting out. That's my concern. And if you're going to spend my tax dollar money on something, do something with that dead man's curve on Slogan. There's going to be a hit on, or some kids will get hit. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Mine's more of a personal question. I'm here on behalf of my mother. She's 86 years old. She's had the same mailbox for 45 years. And right now it's a half a mile from the house. When you close that off, it's gonna cause her to have to drive 6 miles to get her mail. So I'm looking for a solution, basically. If you're gonna close it off, could it be something easier, like speed bumps or something where we could actually go across and people aren't drifting around the corner, or, you know, the speed that's happening through there? Otherwise, it's gonna, she's gonna, for the last couple years of her life, she's gonna have to change her address or something. You know, I mean, I'm looking for another solution. So if that's what I came for. I'm looking for my mom to be able to get her mail.
Can you state your name for the record, ma'am?
Sure. I'm here on behalf of Shirley Anderson, 1 Shirley Place.
Thank you.
Which her property is off of Sloganier Trail.
Thank you.
And we purchased an easement, she and my dad purchased an easement from Palm Coast to get out of her landlocked land. Well, it's surrounded on 3 sides by canals, and 1 side goes into Flagler County. But we had to buy an easement to get out. When Palm Coast purchased all the land and everything, they had to purchase an easement. So we did that part of it, upholding good faith, but now we just want to get mail.
All right, thank you so much. Next speaker.
My name's Marlon Pennington, and I'm kind of here for my mom too. She has a golf cart, and she's been riding back there for 7 years. We live on Slow Drift. Our backyard is right up Slowway, and her friends live back there on the dirt road. And this is, since COVID, it's just her life. You know, she's devastated that this road is going to be closed and she won't be able to take her ride every evening. And also, where we live, you know how Palm Coast is, you know the fires that we've had? That's an exit for us. If that is closed with a gate and we had to get out, what do we do? If there's storms, that road should not be closed. That road should stay open. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Hey there, my name is Watanya Tongfatong of Palm Coast here as well. I really do thank you guys for trying to look out for us. I know this is all just for our own protection. And not only that, I mean, we were having a lot of commercial vehicles come through our way during the time that Seminole Woods was closed, and that was an issue for us because they were wrecking our yards, our mailboxes, and everything. Now that the road's back open, the traffic has died down. However, the local ones, for like me, we're on Slogan. My mother lives also on a different location, Slogan. We have friends that are off of CR 325. So for us, just for me to go to work even, I take Old Dixie Highway, so it's an extra mile and a half for our trip. It just adds a lot, not only time and a lot of gas, but I think there could be possible other solutions to it, even if you had a gate where you had maybe a transponder with a remote to open it, and residents could pay for that transponder or pay for the remote, or even a monthly cost to keep the maintenance up. Something along those lines to where residents that are willing to pay and pay for the maintenance with their own money would take part in that, and I think it would maybe help a lot of the community out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
How you doing? I'm Mike Catalano. I'm here on behalf of my mother as well. She lives off of County Road 330, and the problem I have is people who live on County Road 330 and 325, you cut off that road, you basically give only one way out of that area. And the one way out is that roundabout on US 1, which is dangerous and shouldn't have been built from the beginning. My mother's afraid to go on that road because she's been almost hit numerous times by semis going 65 and then realizing it's now 20 on US 1 to get around that roundabout. She avoids it, so she takes slow way. We live off of Sesame, so she takes that back road. We drive that road almost every single day to and from her house and to our house. It's the only really easy access between our houses. If you take that away from her, I don't know how she's going to get out, because she doesn't like taking US 1. That roundabout is not safe. Slow way is, I'm all for if you guys want to put like a speed bump there, if you think people are going too fast around it. I think the only reason this issue ever came up, because that road's been there forever, the only reason this has become an issue is because of that closure on Seminole Woods leading out to US 1 when it was closed for almost 3 months to fix a pipe. And I don't think the residents who live on 325 and 330 should suffer because of what happened at that point, because I don't see it being an issue any other time from that moment. And that's it.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Hi, I'm Teresa Butka. I live on Slogan Trail. My household was not notified of the neighborhood meetings. I use Slowway 4 days a week. I oppose closing a Slowway. The property damage in the neighborhood usually occurs at night on unlit streets. There is one corner on Slogan Trail that has a street light, and this seems to prevent property damage on that corner. Why have alternate solutions to the problem of Slowway, such as adding streetlights, better markings on the edge of the road, or possibly curbing, not been considered, since they seem to be superior solutions to closing the road? The city notified 40 households using email on file with the utilities department. I have questions regarding the notification process for the neighborhood meetings. Did any one of the 40 residents to be notified not have an email address on file? Were any of the email notifications returned as undelivered? If the answers to either of the above questions is yes, why didn't the city contact those residents via mail? Why did the city only notify a minority of the neighborhood residents instead of all the neighborhood residents? Why did the city choose to not notify property owners as close as across the street from the proposed gate on the back roads? Only 2 residents attended the final neighborhood meeting. Why is the city okay basing a decision of such magnitude on a meeting representing less than 2% of the neighborhood? I have further questions on different topics. During the workshop meeting on the Slowway closure, why did the council discuss emergency response times to the White Eagle, which does not require going through Slowway, instead of a response time to our neighborhood? During the workshop meeting, it was noted that the traffic from the White Eagle Bar uses Slowway to leave the bar. Why did none of the council recognize that this information is no longer applies, since the White Eagle's been closed for over a year? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
My name is Daniel Seaman. I live in Seminole Woods. I am the resident that called in the broken pipe to save people's lives that caused Seminole Woods to be closed down. Your pipe engineering department, the head of that department, called me directly and thanked me because I probably saved at least several vehicles from veering off the road, be it motorcycle. I drive a big truck, not a commercial truck, but like a big pickup truck. I've lived in there since 2002. I recognized it over a 3-day period that the pipe was collapsing, called it in, they put a steel cover over it. I do not want any accolades for that. That is the whole reason that this conversation has come up. Yes, I agree. Some of those right-of-ways, some of those people's yards got tore up, and that unfortunate pipe disintegration, because I stayed in touch with the man that works with you and for you guys. That was unfortunate. I feel for those people, but it is a whole lot cheaper to go in there and to repair those right-of-ways, even though those are city-owned. Those people's yards, they deserve for their yards to look nice. If it was in my yard, I'd be upset about it too, but let's just make it right. And it saved the city by me calling probably a bunch of suits. School buses use that route when that road was closed. Fire trucks, because I watched it. Police officers. There is only, if you shut that road down, there's only 2 ways in and out of Seminole Woods, US 1 and 100. There's been at least twice in the past 18 or 19 months, I'd have to know exactly, where there has been vehicle accidents on both ends of that road in the morning with school buses and everyone going to work. We have all gotten trapped on that road. It, yes, is unfortunate that those people's yards got tore up, and that's probably why it came, I'm assuming, to such a head. Let's make their yards right. Let's make it right for those people. Let's do something besides shut that road down, because I don't know how long you guys have lived here, but I was around. I wasn't a resident of Seminole Woods, but I was in Flagler County when we had those fires. You get a call, you've got to go. You can't be blocked. You've got to get away from those fires. And you talked in the beginning of the meeting, and I'm not mad at you, I'm just making up points. You talked in the beginning of the meeting about doing things by the book. I never saw a vehicle counter, like one of those little strips that goes across the road to count vehicles since that road has been fixed on Seminole Woods. I just think that should be something we address.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, Mayor Howell.
Hi.
Council. I'm Agnes Lau. I live on Slocum Path. I'm also here regarding Slowway. The closing of that road would be devastating to me. I have my driver's license. I do drive. I use that route to get to Publix and a local restaurant. My daughter lives on Route 330. You cut off my access to her and her access to me, except through Route 1. I do not feel safe driving your roads in Palm Coast, and I don't mean to say your roads, but on Seminole Woods, that's a death trap. Route 1 is second. Belterre is third. I can keep my independence and get my groceries by using those back roads. I feel that the closing of Seminole Woods at the time the road was under repair was the fault of all that traffic coming through Slowway. They put the barricades right at the top of Slogan in Seminole Woods, allowing all the dump trucks, all the semis, all the whoever and whatever to come down there to get to Route 1. If that road had been closed differently and we were not made to be the detour for Palm Coast, we wouldn't be standing here today. I also ride a three-wheeler. You stop my access to riding my bike to my daughter's. You're going to put barricades? My three-wheeler isn't going to go through your barricades. And why should I have to get off of my bicycle and walk my bicycle through those barricades at my age? I pay tax dollars to use these roads, and you're taking away the rights, or the rights will be taken away from me with the closing of that road. I pray that you will reconsider, look at the issue, and realize who is really responsible for all the problems that occurred. And it was the closing of Seminole Woods at that time. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Vlad. I'm a resident of Palm Coast. I'm also a father of 6. I live on Sloganier, and most of that traffic due to the closure came right in front of my house. I don't really have an issue with not closing that road because there's a whole community back there, and if you do close that road, you'll basically be punishing the many for just the actions of a few. And we shouldn't sit here and make permanent decision off of temporary emotions. Now, I don't know what reviews went in, what studies were done to realize that that road should be closed or a gate should be placed there. Palm Coast is a strange little city. It is quite beautiful, but there's not many through streets, and most people don't understand the concept of through streets. So if you do close that road off, you'll basically be suffocating a lot of the residents, especially for that community that lives back there. So I would greatly appreciate it if you guys would reconsider and think real hard of not closing that road. I got kids, and my kids can't come outside. I understand that. So if maybe there were speed bumps or something, that would gratefully help. But nevertheless, do not close that road.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Good evening, Mayor. Jamie Holly in the minority. I live at Slow Drift and Slow Way. I'm not the person who instigated this, but after a lady got stuck in my front yard during the pipe closure, I got involved. Daily, I see this daily. Delivery trucks, Amazon, FedEx, UPS, commercial vehicles, they all cut through. All day long, beginning early in the morning into the night. And did anybody ever think how much they'd enjoy having a 53-foot tall, long trailer go by their house several times? Because that's what happens. There's also the matter of what I call the riffraff that comes up from Daytona. They come through there, I hear them. They come through there to come up here to cause problems. That's an easy access for them to get back to Daytona. There was a high-speed chase on 325 last fall. It ended with a car trying to turn from 325 onto Slow Way, flipped upside down, hit a telephone pole, and ripped my neighbor's electrical box off his house. That's why that road needs to be closed. It is a danger to the people that live there. That's the bottom line. It's a danger. And I beg you to continue with your decision that you've already made. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
My name is Beatrice Stone. I live on County Road 325. I've been there for over 20 years. And that road actually was the bus route when my grandson lived with me. I'm in favor of closing it only because I'm tired of all the trash and the high traffic, heavy traffic on my road. Beer cans, takeout trash is always on my road. And it's people that are coming there on their way home, they dump it before they get home. Also, however, we don't have an alternate route out of there. Our only way out, if you close that road, is for us to go on County Road, on US 1 to the traffic circle. And we have had a fire at the White Eagle a number of years ago that started at our property. And the only way that we could get out was to go US 1. It was closed down. We have high-speed drivers. Also, large vehicles come down our road to go through Sloganeer. And I think we need to notify the map companies that that's not a good route. Waze and Google Maps both route you through Sloganeer and Slowway. That's critical. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next speaker.
I'm Michael Stone, her husband, and we've been on, like she said, we've been on 325 for a little over 20 years. The White Eagle fire, that was about 15 years ago, was our fire. We could not get out our driveway. We had to run around back. If something happens like that again, tree across the road, that's the only evacuation route. And especially down 230 down there. We just, it just needs to be open. Need maybe speed bumps, some kind of traffic control, maybe a do not litter sign. But that's definitely something that needs to stay open for the safety of the community there. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Good evening, George Mayo, Palm Coast. I'm just wondering if anybody from the city has had discussions on this with the Postal Service concerning the delivery of mail, which may change drastically. It may sound easy to close the road and people will get their mail, but for the Postal Service to have to maybe change the route, it may change carriers. It's a bigger deal than what you might think. So before you do that, I would suggest somebody contact the Postal Service and consider that option. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Brian Butka, Sloganeer Trail. I was not notified of the neighborhood meetings. I use Slowway over 14 times a week, and I oppose the closing of Slowway. The City Council has given the following reasons for closing Slowway with a gate: property damage, excessive traffic in the neighborhood, and use by non-local drivers. The closing of Slowway will definitely delay emergency services from the nearest fire station emergency services to our neighborhood. A council member noted that a delay of only 20 to 30 seconds could be somebody's life. Another council member, Nick Klufus, said, "I think it's a safety issue." Since this council agrees it's a safety issue, we can ignore any property damage as a concern to close Slowway. That leaves us with only two other reasons. When Seminole Woods was closed, the numerous SIMBY council members showed up and met with residents and personally observed the heavy traffic and large vehicles in the neighborhood. During the period of extreme peril to our neighborhood, the City Council took no efforts to mitigate that problem. Now, after Seminole Woods closure has ended, the city employee came and conducted a traffic survey on January 28th and reported that the current level of traffic is 5 vehicles in 45 minutes, and his conclusion was no big deal. This demonstrates that the current levels of traffic are not a reason to justify this closure. A city council member also stated about the closure, to do nothing would be the worst we could do. However, during the weeks of imminent danger to the residents of Seminole Woods Boulevard closure, nothing is exactly what the city chose to do. Isn't this a clear case of closing the barn door after the horses bolted? Only 2 residents showed up for the final neighborhood meeting. You can see you did not get the proper meeting. There are more people here than 2. There are numerous negative impacts that have been failed to consider. The gate design is flawed. It is a traffic safety hazard. The closure will impose a financial burden on me of $700 a year and tens of thousands of dollars over the entire neighborhood. Many of our neighborhood citizens do not like driving on high-speed roads. You've already heard it. And if you close this road, they can't leave the neighborhood. Right now, you can drive to the store, church, everything, all the way to Port Orange, and you never drive on a high-speed road. Close it, they can't leave the neighborhood. You have anecdotal evidence that the council gathered during their visits. That should not outweigh the evidence that's been presented here tonight by the citizens who live with that traffic 24/7. The city has claimed this gives no justification that the traffic is predominantly non-local drivers, and I have to say that many of my fellow Republicans have observed recent events where the system was rigged and the voice of the people wasn't heard. It is now time for the Palm Coast City Council to show they listen to the voice of the people.
Thank you so much. Next speaker. I'm going to close public comment. Jason, there's obviously several comments made. I want to make sure we're addressing the issues raised by our residents this evening. Obviously, they pertain to emergency access. Definitely want to talk about the mailbox, right? We want to talk about only traffic being routed to US 1 around the roundabout. Were any other alternatives looked at, speed bumps, as a measure of monitoring? Did we go out and talk about commercial vehicles being restricted in any way? Did the broken pipe on Seminole cause this, in your opinion, to become an issue where there was not an issue? And a lot about commercial vehicles, and again, making sure we're responsive. Did you take any other additional notes?
Yep, I'll try to answer all those best I can. Jason DiLorenzo, Community Development Department. Let me start with the broken pipe on Seminole, because I think that was common for many of the citizens that spoke.
Can you speak a little louder?
Sure, yes.
Yeah.
From my correspondence with the neighbor who initially sent in an email about the problems that they were having there on Slow Way, he told me that he had reported this several years ago, and it hadn't been elevated to this point at that time. So it predates the Seminole Woods closure. I don't know by how long, but it certainly does predate the Seminole Woods closure. He did contact me during the closure, and then that's when we made an initial meeting with the residents, and there were at least 20 or 25 residents out on Slowway and in the grass, and you know, we had our first opportunity to, as this administration, to understand what was happening there at Slowway. The city's traffic engineer did an evaluation for the type of drivers that he was seeing in the neighborhood. This was after our initial meeting. He went back out to observe the traffic patterns and did an evaluation of the types of vehicles, the speed of vehicles, and found that the closing was, in his opinion, his professional opinion as a traffic engineer, the closing of Slowway was the best way to deal with what was occurring in the neighborhood. He also, as part of that evaluation, spoke with the Sheriff's Office, Flagler County Fire, Palm Coast Fire, and to confirm that this wasn't going to cause an issue with response times. Under normal operations, this area of Seminole Woods is serviced by Station 92, which is at the fire department, which is at the airport, sorry. And so the fire truck travels south. It doesn't cut through County Road 30 and 330 and 325. It comes from the south. From the north to the south. There's currently, and it may have been completed by now, I'm not sure, but the county was doing a renovation of Station 92, which was causing service to come from Old Dixie, their station on Old Dixie, but under normal operations, it's serviced by 92. However, in those meetings with the other safety folks, it was determined that emergency access should be included in the gate, and it has been included in the design for the gate.
The mailbox, I'll have to meet with the resident. I tried to follow exactly where the mailbox is. I know the property that she's talking about, but I'm not exactly sure where the mailbox is in relation to the driveway. I couldn't get that.
As far as any contact from the Postal Service?
I'm sorry, Mayor, I'm not sure if the traffic engineer spoke to the post office yet, but obviously, as the road is closed, we'll have a lot of work to do. We need to work with Flagler County to do signage on 325 and 330. We'll have to work with the post office and others to coordinate all of that as that occurs.
How long did they monitor the traffic?
I'm not sure, Mayor. Normally, there's multiple ways to check traffic. You can, on a main road, you would put out those strips and have a counter, but also hand counting is still done by traffic engineers. So I'm not sure, if he went out there one time or multiple times to count traffic.
And obviously, there's some unanswered questions. So council, do we have any additional questions or comments for staff?
Well, I just want to say this. When people come here, you bring concerns. That's what we're here for, to listen to your concerns. Today, we had one concern in favor of closing, and 16 concerns in favor of not closing it. I never heard those concerns before. It's the first time I'm hearing today.
Hey, no.
Excuse me.
No, we do not, this is not the time for the public.
I'm just saying that our concerns that for me, that was one concern that needed to be satisfied. Because if anybody spoke at the beginning, it was me. I was concerned with the safety. Now, when you hear things like Miss Shirley, 86 years old, she's going to have to do 6 miles to go to her mailbox. I didn't know about that. And that's a concern to me. One thing that's not a concern to me is when somebody uses the word, people are still going to go through, cut through. No. People are going to use the street. They don't cut through, they use the streets, ma'am. I want to hear a little more about this, to be honest with you. I have a lot of concerns now that I've heard. 16 concerns against closing it and one concern against concern and one to close it. Numbers also talk to us, so I would like to hear a little more. I'm not comfortable, to be honest with you, of even voting in this matter today. I think some more work should be done over here before we.
You can make a motion to table it.
Oh, I would love to make a motion. I just didn't want to do that unless I give everybody else an opportunity to talk, and then because I think we also should listen to my colleagues.
You can still make a motion. It can be seconded, and still discussion can occur if you'd like to make that motion.
Yes, I'll make a motion to have it discussed at a different time and give us an opportunity. Okay, because I'm a culprit of not going there. So I would like to have a motion to not vote on this today and keep it on the agenda to work on this. Have staff working at this a little more.
Is there a second?
I'll second and then comment.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. First, of course, I second that motion, but the reason I second that motion is mostly because I feel that me being the protagonist of this, at least in a little part, I visited the corner during the issues with Seminole Woods, and I'd like to thank the gentleman for reporting the broken pipe. Thank you. And it was much more evident at that point. There were citizens on their yards all around the corners. We were able to stand there and see that there were cars putting people in danger, vehicles that definitely didn't belong there. It was very clear at that point that something needed to be done. I don't think the council as a whole has heard any resistance of this magnitude up to this point on the matter. I think perhaps having updated traffic statistics would help so that we can see whether the problem still exists. I still believe that this is a safety issue for the families that live adjacent to this, and just in general, this shouldn't be used as a cut through. I understand some of the legitimate problems in my mind are definitely Shirley having to walk to her mailbox, terrible. Having to get off a bicycle, for sure. I think that we should make every effort to try to satisfy these legitimate needs, but some of the evidence is also anecdotal to the point where, you know, it's that we do prefer using it as a cut through, which isn't, in my mind, something that we could allow to put at risk of someone's life. There were families out there, there were literal kids playing in the yards as cars were rounding corners that definitely shouldn't have been there, and I only imagine that traffic gets worse. But to that point, I was a single data point examining traffic at a single date and time. So I would also like more traffic data so that I can ensure that my purview isn't of one that's in isolation.
Our first concern here is safety. And I also visited the site and spoke to the police department, sheriff's department. Many cars do not stop at those stop signs. Many cars, they literally stay there and they'll get all the tickets they want all day. That's a big concern because this is a neighborhood. Also, the county road is not a paved road. So if you look at the street, all that dirt is going onto the paved road. I don't know if anybody's ever driven a motorcycle here, but if you give a little gas and you got a little sand on that paved road, you're wiping out. So, I mean, that might come up as a lawsuit to the city if now that this is not closed and someone wipes out on this corner. I also watched the car go through a lady's lawn. I mean, if you're living there in this neighborhood, you don't want a car to go through your lawn or your house. That's a pretty big issue. And it wasn't just regular cars, it was semi-trucks cutting through people's lawns, not stopping at stop signs. It was like a highway. Now, am I sure that this wasn't because of the closure? No. Probably someone has to check into that a little bit better. But it is a big safety. A lot of people spoke about if there was a fire, if that was closed. Well, the fire department and the police department are still going to have access to this fence. So I'm assuming that they'll open it and let the people from the residents out.
So I too have been to the site. I think I was there, it was just a couple of months ago. I saw a lot of traffic. I saw a lot of things that Councilman Clufus and Councilman Barboza have spoken about. I did have a question for staff or possibly for our fire chief. In the event of a hurricane or fires, can we make it standing operating procedure to open that gate and keep it open during those situations? And I don't know.
I'm on. Good evening, Mayor. To Mr. Danko's point is.
Can't hear you. Good.
To Mr. Danko's point, can you hear me now?
No. Is he on, Doug?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
To Mr. Danko's point, we can provide access to the gate and keep it open during emergencies, whether it's a fire or a hurricane.
Okay, so we can make that standing operating procedure so no one has to worry about being trapped back there. I also understand people can walk their bicycles through. Is that correct?
Yes, there's pedestrian access through the design.
So you can walk through and you can move your bicycle through?
Correct.
Okay, those were my concerns. Thank you.
So I would like to add, first of all, golf carts are not permitted in the city of Palm Coast, so who's ever using one should not be using one. But secondly, I too, I had not heard that this was an issue in the 4 years I was mayor. I've been a resident of Palm Coast for 36 years. I served on the county commission for 6 years. This issue did not come forward in any capacity at any given time. So when it first came up, I had some questions on how this came to be, what were some of the concerns. And I know, we deal with cut-throughs on Florida Park Drive and other roadways that we have tried to remedy the issues. as far as putting a law enforcement presence out there for speeders, doing a speed sign that really allows for more data to be collected if speeding is occurring on that road. We do not allow commercial vehicles. There are signs posted. I know that the sheriff has agreed to put in cameras at both points to capture the license plates of commercial vehicles if they are breaking our policies and rules in the city of Palm Coast. That's on Florida Park Drive. So we do deal with cut-throughs, and we've tried to remedy those, in a variety of ways. So I would like to hear from our traffic engineer who made this recommendation on what other studies have been done, what other alternatives were looked at, how comprehensive was the study, did they take into account other, impacts such as the pipe being broken, and if indeed this was causing additional traffic. So without that, I can't make a decision tonight. And I support tabling the issue until a time when we can bring it back and have further information to some of our questions. So it's okay, please. That's my view. I mean, I really do appreciate residents, who come out and voice their concerns. I think it's always important to hear from the residents, in particular when it impacts their everyday quality of life. And I think you've certainly demonstrated to me and brought it to my attention enough to where I want to hear further information before making a final decision.
So does my motion stands and second? Shall we have a vote for table it?
Well, do you still stand on the second?
Yep, I still stand on the second, and if I may add, I'm still in the position that, in my assessment, it's a safety issue, that the resolution will only in turn be effective if we have a road closure. But I want to respect the fact that our colleagues here are asking time to collect more data and be able to come to that same conclusion, or a conclusion of their liking. So I absolutely still stand by my second.
So I also want to state for those that are here tonight, Virginia, you've collected names, but we need to get information to keep you informed on this progress as it moves forward, to ensure your additional input is provided as the process moves along, and we continue to update you. So they're a way to grab a list of individuals' contact information, if you don't mind supplying your information. And I do want to say, I do think we need to do a better job notifying people when there are issues like this. I mean, again, I don't know necessarily 40 people. I get, hundreds of emails a day. I'm not sure, that's probably the best way. If it's something where it's going to change their quality of life and add additional time and the things we have to do, I think, an extra step. And that's either notification by mail as well. It's easy to do. Maybe expand the geofencing a little further to add and get additional residential input, not just necessarily on those impacted.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion to table, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move to agenda item number 5, which is an ordinance.
Mayor, Council, this is an ordinance of the City Council, City of Palm Coast, Florida, providing for the amendment of the official zoning map.
Bill, if all the residents can go on the hallway, there's a table out there. That way you can get the accurate information to our communications officer.
Colbert Landings.
Thank you.
Mayor, Council, this is an ordinance of the City Council, City of Palm Coast, Florida, providing for the amendment of the official zoning map as established in Section 2.06 of the City of Palm Coast Unified Land Development Code. This ordinance is amending the official zoning map for about 135.1 acres, more or less, a certain real property described as part of tax parcel ID number 312-3140-010-0160, generally located on the west side of Colbert Lane, approximately 1/2 mile north of Moody Boulevard, and more particularly described in the attached Exhibit A, from single-family residential 1, or SFR1 zoning district to single-family residential 1 SFR1 zoning district and preservation PRS zoning district, providing for conflicts, severability, and providing for effective date. Mayor, Council, this is the first reading. There will be a companion ordinance, the title of which I will read in just a second after staff presentation. This is a quasi-judicial matter, Mayor, Council, so if there have been any ex-parte communications regarding this proposed ordinance, those should be disclosed at this time.
Council, any ex parte
No,
communications?
not at all. None.
No? I have none either. So we will have one presentation for both items. However, I'm going to open it up to the public following public council discussion for first agenda item number 5. Then our attorney will read agenda item number 6. We'll ask for another, any type of quasi-judicial communication, and then we'll open up for the public to comment on agenda item number 6. So they are going to be separated. However, we're going to have one presentation. So I just want to make the public aware. That's how we're going to make sure we're giving enough information to the community.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, City Council members. Ray Tyner, Deputy Chief Development Officer. These two properties have some history here in Palm Coast. They were annexed in 2004, and the northern piece was zoned master plan development back in 2005. They were both two properties of separate ownership. Recently, the property was purchased by one owner, and they are proposing to go straight zoning. Now that we have in 2008, when our zoning code was approved, back in 2005, when the northern piece was zone MPD, we didn't have our zoning map. So what Mr. Hoover will present for one presentation is both properties. It's one project that's going to basically our straight zoning or our conventional zoning districts with some added adding additional preservation on the property. But Mr. Hoover will have those details. The reason we have two separate items, it's one project, just because the property, they didn't do a lot combination yet, and that will be done for one property. So Mr. Hoover.
Good evening, everyone. Bill Hoover from Community Development Department. I'm a senior planner. The Colbert Landings, it's located on the west side of Colbert Lane, north of State Route 100, about a half a mile. It consists of about 157-acre north parcel and about 137-acre south parcel. And the property owners plan to develop a single-family, very large subdivision for about 494 single-family homes on about 292 residential acres. If you look in the bottom of the screen there for the aerial, you'll see that the south access road is excluded, and that's a shared access. It's part of the south parcel, but it's a shared access with a commercial property that's located where that yellow arrow is, and it's about 1.6 acres. Combined, both parcels have about 45% of the site area or the acreage is designated. It shows up as like a very light white color or gray. That's the conservation area where the swamp is. And then the bright yellow areas are residential. The residential makes up a little bit over half of that. And if you go to the west and north of the project area, you can see there's additional conservation lands. And then to the east, in the south, you can see a lot of red area. That's a mixed use designation on the future land use map. And that allows pretty much most any zoning district. And then directly south of the southern parcel, you can also see some residential area there also. This is the zoning map. As Mr. Tyner mentioned, the north parcel is shown in a blue hatched area. That stands for Master Plan Development, or MPD. And then the south parcel is in the light tan color. That is single-family residential 1 or SFR 1. To the west and north of the project, you can see a lot of green area. That stands for PRS or preservation. And then to the east of the subject project, you can see more master plan development, blue area. And then along Colbert Lane, you're going to also see some COM2, which is general commercial. Directly south of the south parcel, there's some brown area, that's multifamily residential 2. And then directly west of that and east of that, there's some burgundy land. That is high-intensity commercial or COM3. The best way I thought of explaining what they're trying to do here is show the future land use map on the west side of the screen, and then the zoning map, that's what's proposed on the right-hand side. So the Graham Swamp there is the area shown in white in conservation. And so to protect that, the best zoning district is preservation. And so the applicants agreed with staff's request to zone that to preservation so it would not be developed. And then the land that's designated residential or yellow in the project area is simply going to single-family residential 1, which is a 6,000 square foot lot, required 50-foot wide minimum. The subject parcels were annexed back in 2004, and at that time the north parcel was actually rezoned to PUD, and then later on the city changed the name of the PUDs to MPD. And the south parcel was rezoned about the same time to single-family residential 1, and the north parcel was phase 1 of this same project. Back in 2007, a preliminary plat with engineered drawings was approved. They started construction, and it was quickly shut down just because of the Great Recession. So at this time, they simply want to rezone the north parcel from MPD, Master Plan Development, to single-family residential 1 and preservation. And then on the south parcel, they're rezoning. The whole thing right now is single-family residential 1, and the uplands area would retain the single-family residential 1, and the swamp area would go to preservation. So essentially, the high-quality wetland areas, those are designated conservation on the flume, and those would go to preservation or PRS. And then the land that's developable would go to single-family residential 1 or SFR 1. The total density would be about 1.6 units per acre, which is very low, and that's because of the considerable land that's getting set aside for conservation. Staff is required to review each project for 5 key criteria before we write a staff report, and A, must not be in conflict with the public interest. It needs to be in compliance with both the comprehensive plan and the land development code. Project must not impose a significant hardship or liability on the city, must not create an unreasonable hazard or nuisance, and then it needs to comply with all applicable government standards, including local, state, and federal. We provided detailed findings on these 5 criteria in our staff report. We have a separate staff report for the North project and a separate one for the South, and determined that 2 rezonings would not create a nuisance, hazard, or any compatibility issues, as it meets all development standards and is in compliance with both the land use designations on the future land use map, and as well as meeting requirements in the land development code. The rezoning supports 3 policies or objectives of the future land use map and the conservation and coastal management elements of the comprehensive plan. The applicant's engineer notified all neighbors within 300 feet. We and the applicant and the owner attended the neighborhood meeting back on February 9th at 5:30. It was held at the Flagler County Realtors Building on State Route 100. No one from the public attended. Additionally, for each meeting, a sign was erected for each property separately, as well as a separate news ad for each one. So far in the process, we have not heard any people from the public speaking for or against the project. The planning board meeting was held at 5:30 p.m. back on February 17th. No one from the public again attended. Both projects were found to be in compliance with the comprehensive plan and were recommended to the City Council for approval by separate 7-0 votes. This project will come back to you. It's scheduled for 2 more weeks on March 16th. And then, presuming that's approved, the engineer would submit for a subdivision master plan, which after staff reviews it, the planning board makes a motion on that and approves it. And then the engineer does construction drawings and preliminary plat, which is done by staff review. And then the final plat would come back to the City Council for a public hearing. Planning Board recommends that the City Council find these 2 rezonings in compliance with the comprehensive plan and approve via separate votes for both the Colbert Landings north and south parcels to the SFR1 and PRS zoning districts. And the applicant's representatives are in attendance this evening.
And I believe they have a presentation as well, Mayor.
What's that?
I believe they have a presentation as well, the applicants.
Well, I'm going to ask the council for any questions or comments on staff's presentation, and then I'll turn it over to the developer or the representative. Council, any questions or comments?
Not at this time.
Yes.
I have one. I'm curious, how much of the land has the underlying infrastructure or has been through that first step of development? I know there's a road that goes back there. Besides that, I'm really unsure what exists on the land today.
The clearing, there was some clearing done, and I believe some of the road base was done. But the good thing, a whole lot of utilities was not accomplished, just some of the clearing and all.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other council comments or questions at this time? I just have one. I had a meeting with the superintendent of schools today. One of the topics brought up was when we engage the school district as far as concurrency goes. That's important as they're going through a whole study themselves. And they wanted to make sure in the planning process that we're also communicating with them about school safety, bus stop zones, areas, if there's a place to put where a bus stop is located, an overhang with the developer at the time. Those, I think, are something they're very interested in to ensure that we're also understanding how important that is. It's been hard historically in the city of Palm Coast because we've master planned from ITT single-family lots spread all over. But when we have new developments, we can do this, right? We can ensure that public safety and school safety is really a priority. So when do those discussions take place, and as well as bringing in the school district for concurrency?
Mayor, I am so glad you raised that. You know, the school board, Flagler Schools, had hired a new planner, Patty Bolt, and she actually, per the interlocal agreement, she actually sits on the planning board as well. So she's involved with the project, and in addition, with her new arrival, we have had discussions where we have a technical review team. It's not just Mr. Hoover and I and Mr. Del Lorenzo approving plans. We have our traffic engineers, and you know, when the applications come in, we send that out for review. We have invited her to that process, so she can be there at the beginning. We'll have a representation from Flagler Schools from the beginning of the project to the end of the project. So I believe that's really going to help the communication and the site planning, and you know, I think that's going to add good value to our planning in the future. So.
Right. You know, I think Superintendent Middlestat said we're a community unlike most others, right? We have these lots, the 15,000 yet to be developed lots sporadically spread throughout our city. That's hard for the school district to manage how many students are actually going to be showing up in August. But I really just want to put a strong emphasis on coordination, communication with all new developments needs to be as early as possible. Again, even from a design perspective, right, that we're understanding the bus routes, we're understanding, you know, as much as possible on the impact on our school district.
Thank you.
Are you the developer's representative?
Good evening. Matt Lottie, Gulfstream Design Group, 906 Anastasia Boulevard, St. Augustine, Florida. Thank you, Ms. Mayor, fellow council members. Staff's been great to work with. We've been working with Mr. Tyner and Mr. Hoover for several months now through the application process. Have been working with the school district diligently through the concurrency process. We actually have a meeting with them on March 12th, and we are working through the mitigation process. We've already been through the first phase of their proportionate determination application, and now we're working through the second phase. So I appreciate your consideration there, and definitely taking into our consideration as we design the site, the access points, the school drop-offs. We're also working with the post office early on to ensure we get mail kiosks, we get mail service coordinated, and get all of that designed up front.
That's great.
So Mr. Hoover did a great job presenting everything. Really, my presentation is just kind of a mirror of his. So we can start that, and I can answer any other questions you guys may have as we proceed.
Thank you.
So as Mr. Hoover mentioned, the north and the south parcels there are two separate parcel ID numbers, so we'll proceed with the bonding lot application as soon as we get done with the master subdivision plan prior to the platting. So property is currently owned by GSM Capital. They're based out of New Smyrna Beach, completed several projects in Volusia County, South Florida, Central Florida, and they're deciding to work in Palm Coast and Fauquier County. So next slide. A little bit of permitting history, as Mr. Hoover mentioned. The site had an existing MPD, had existing approved construction plans. Some of the ponds were excavated. There was some minimal storm infrastructure installed. Our current design maintains most of those existing ponds, so we really don't see a lot of clearing and filling in those areas. We'll obviously have to remove most of that infrastructure that was partially installed as part of these efforts. So we're working through our wetland permitting right now with this transition between the Army Corps and the FDEP for the 404 permitting, as well as working through our water management district permitting. GSM Capital, as mentioned, they're out of New Smyrna Beach. They developed Venetian Bay there, successful track record, and they definitely are intending to proceed directly with the master subdivision plan and technical site plan and plat directly thereafter. Just a repeat of the existing zoning classifications there, as Mr. Hoover mentioned, really trying to true this up with the future land use so that the zoning and the land use are consistent in this application going forward. You can see just a little bit different coloration there between the SFR1 and the preservation, just again providing reasonable assurance, no additional attempted density grabs in the future, assuring that these wetland areas are preserved and add to the character of the neighborhood. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Council, any questions or comments?
This is going to be a gated community?
I don't have that answer now, but I don't believe so.
That conclude your questions? Okay. No other questions at this time. We'll open for the public. This is for agenda item number 5. Any resident has public comment on this agenda item, please speak now. No one done? I'll close public comment, take it back to this council, entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 6 is an ordinance. Mr. Roachman.
This is the other half that we've been talking about. This is an ordinance of the City Council, of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, providing for the amendment of the official zoning map as established in Section 2.06 of the City of Palm Coast Unified Land Development Code, amending the official zoning map for 156.6 acres, more or less, of certain real property described as part of tax parcel ID number 312-3140-0110-0150, generally located on the west side of Colbert Lane, approximately 0.8 miles north of Moody Boulevard, and more particularly described in the attached Exhibit A, from Master Plan Development, MPD zoning district to Single-Family Residential 1, SRF 1 zoning district, and Preservation PRS zoning district, providing for conflict severability, providing for an effective date. Mayor, Council, again, first reading, ex parte communications, because this is quasi-judicial.
Council, any ex parte?
Don't know.
Fast as I can read it.
Yes. I will open up to the public. Any member of public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 6, please do so at this time. Close public comment. Take it back to this council. Entertain a motion.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 7, we're going to recess the City Council and convene the State Road 100 CRA Board. Agenda item number 7 is the State Road 100 Corridor Community Redevelopment Agency Resolution approving the terms and conditions of a loan agreement and promissory note with Jacksonville University. I spoke with Mr. Morton about this earlier today, and this is not to approve a budgetary amount. This is only to approve the terms and conditions of the loan agreement. So we will open up to questions or comments by the council now.
I just want to go on record as being opposed to this whole deal with Jacksonville University. This is a university that makes money hand over fist. Millions and millions and millions of dollars they're worth. Far more than we are. There's no reason we should have to pay them to come to our city.
Duly noted, on the record. Okay, any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 7, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. I'll take it back to this council, entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Passes 4-1. We'll now move, we'll re-adjourn our council meeting and go to agenda item number 8, which is the resolution approving the Jacksonville University and the City of Palm Coast Economic Development Grant Agreement. Again, council members, this is for the grant agreement. This is not specific to the monetary amount. So is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll close public comment, take it back to this council, entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Passes 4-1. Agenda item number 9 is a resolution authorizing the execution of the state revolving fund loan agreement for the construction of the East Section Improvement Project. Council, we've had a presentation on this. I would ask for any questions or comments at this time. None, I'll open up to the public. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 9, please do so at this time. I'll close public comment. Take it back to this council, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 10 is a resolution approving the submission of a Florida Inland Navigational District Waterways Assistance Program application for the construction of Phase A, Part 2, items associated with adding water access to Waterfront Park. Again, we've had a presentation at our workshop. I would ask any council questions or comments on this agenda item. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 10, please do so at this time. Close public comment, take it back to this council.
Make the motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 11 is a resolution approving the addition to the existing work order with McKim and Creed for engineering services assistance for 6 of the FEMA generator projects. Council, any questions or comments on this agenda item? Open up to the public. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 11, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Take it back to this council. Entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Now go to the consent agenda item. Any member of the public wish to make comments on 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, or 18, please do so at this time. Close public comment. Take it back to this council. Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
I will make the motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. We'll now move to public participation. Any member of the public who has not participated at the beginning of the meeting has the option and opportunity to speak at the end of the meeting. These are items not on the agenda. Please come to the podium if you'd like to present tonight. You have up to 3 minutes, and please state your name for the record. I will close public comment. Discussion by City Council of matters not on the agenda. Vice Mayor Branquinho.
I don't even know if we usually talk about it, but I just want to bring it up. Last week, I lost a good friend by the name Lourdes Holman. She was involved in the community, and she was also very much involved in the church. So I just want to leave here publicly my sorrows, my condolences to the husband, to the family. She was a great, great lady. What a heart. Evan gained another angel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Councilmember Clifford.
I'm also sorry for your loss, but I have no comment for today. Thank you.
Sorry for your loss. On the stuff about the business signage and stuff, I'm here to listen to everybody from the public. Being one, I think I'm the only one that owns a small business up here. So many other small business people come up to me and relate to this stuff. So the main thing is to do like we just did with Slow Drip, have everybody out here explain their hardship and just put a vote to it. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Danko.
Yeah, I would just suggest, I think 3 of us have been out to this road, Slowway. I believe so. If I'm wrong, correct me. But for Councilman Burkino and you, Mayor Holland, if you have an opportunity, I would suggest go out there and just spend a little time, and I think you'll see what the 3 of us have seen with our own eyes. And that may give you a better perspective on the situation out there. And it's just a suggestion.
Thank you. I have nothing for this evening's meeting. Discussion by City Attorney of matters not on the agenda.
Nothing, Mayor.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.